Sanibonani kamangu Nosipho, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is quite an exciting one for me, and I'd say a milestone one on my channel because I have been privileged enough to partner with Bill and Melinda Gates on their annual letter. How exciting. So if you don't know who Bill and Melinda Gates are, I think you need to get on your phone, get to Googling, because these are people you should know. Over and above their incredible business success, these people are incredible philanthropists, and this is what their annual letter is centered around. It's centered around focusing on the different social issues that are facing the world, the relevant issues that are facing the world at the time, the things that they have done to impact those social issues and try to bring about change in different countries all over the world in addressing those social issues, as well as providing suggestions on how the world, thought, and just individuals should move forward in trying to address those issues and making our world a better place so everybody can live a productive life in it. So I am going to be focusing today on gender inequality, and I think it's such an important topic to focus on, firstly because I am a woman, and I think also I am a woman who's in a space where I shouldn't have been afforded the opportunities that I have to be where I am if the gender roles were, I guess, or rather my life was a direct reflection of how society is at the moment. So this is a topic that I'm passionate about, and I've also been lucky enough or privileged enough to get to ask Ms Melinda Gates some questions that they have been kind enough to answer in video form for you guys. So I'll be putting that in this video as well. So I'm just going to touch on why I think gender equality is important, what it means to me, and then we'll get straight into the questions that I asked and the answers that she provided. So if you'd like to know what I think about gender equality, and if you'd like to hear the answers that I got from Ms Melinda Gates, then do keep watching. Thank you so much for supporting my channel, and I'll see you all in the next clip. Gender equality, I would say, means to me that I am just as good, I am just as deserving, I am just as important, and I am in no way lesser than any man. And this should mean that I then should be afforded the same opportunities, I have the same rights, and I should be afforded the same respect that would be given to a man. That is the ideal world that we should all live in, where we're all equal. But the reality of our world and our past, and just the way things have been for generations, continue to be at present, and probably will be in the future, is that women are seen as the weaker, lesser sex. And this might be all based on our biology, the fact that women physically are weaker than men just because of our build and I guess our biomechanics and how we're made. But unfortunately, brute force isn't what quantifies a person, or rather isn't what should be used to quantify a person. And that's how the world has looked at the gender roles, where the women are taking on the softer, more nurturing roles, and the men are taking more the positions of power, the important roles, the decision-making roles, and women are seen as incapable of doing those things. And because that's the way that our history has been and how things have been in the past, men have been raised over generations to see women as lesser. And corporate, business, society, social, personal, all those spheres of life have all had that indoctrination of women being lesser, less important, not as valuable as the man. And that's what causes a lot of our gender inequality issues. And it's not all about women. I think the other mistake that people make is that they think women should just take a stand, women should just speak for themselves, women should just do something about gender inequality and fix it themselves. But it's a lot more about how we're raising our men and how for generations our men have been raised. Because if you raise someone to believe and think that they own the one that is lesser than them and that they're more important than the one that is lesser than them, that's just how they'll behave. And that's why in different spaces, for instance corporate, women are not really in positions of power. If you look at society, the higher up the ladder you go, the fewer women are there. Even in spaces where it shouldn't be men making the decisions about women, you'll find a man at the top of the food chain. And that's just because women are just not seen as being capable of holding those positions of power. Even though I think society, the world, and life has moved so far away from human beings farming and tilling the land for what they eat, to a lot of our capability and a lot of the importance in what we give to society being up here, women are still not seen as being as valuable as men, even when we do have some women that are more intelligent than men, more capable than men in making certain decisions in certain spheres. So I just think we have like a lot of generational issues that continue to trickle down, and a lot of our situations like domestic abuse, murder, rape, gender-based violence, all of that stems from gender inequality, or the mindset that perpetuates gender inequality. Because if you think someone is less than you, you will see them as an object that you can own. And if they're an object that you can own, you can do whatever you want to the object that you own. And that person or that object to you doesn't have a voice to speak up, to fight back. You can do whatever you want to. So there's a lot that needs to be done, and a lot of good and change that can come from having a shift in our mentality, having a shift in how the world views women, the importance of women, and equating the value of women and men, so women are respected more than they are now. And this will help us affect change in a lot of spheres, not just in the spheres of corporate business positions of power, but even the things that are day-to-day bread and butter things like gender-based violence. It's a really sad thought to think that no matter where in the world you're born, first world, third world, developing, developed, you are head and shoulders below any man if you're born as a girl. From something as simple as people celebrating having boy children as opposed to girl children because boys can continue lineages and women can't, apparently, to simple things like when I was growing up and the dishes situation came up, where I had an old brother that we were living together with at the time, and if the dishes weren't washed, even though they were his, he was never asked why the dishes weren't washed. It was me, because it's my responsibility as the girl to have washed the dishes. There would be things that he would do that he should have taken care of that I got asked about because he's the boy. He's not supposed to be doing this. And we don't understand that those things, and I think, not that when my parents were raising me, they were trying to make me feel or indoctrinate me into thinking that I'm lesser, but that's just how everybody has grown up, where women are the lesser. Even the importance of educating the girl child versus the male child, especially in situations where you have in our developing countries, even in some of our developed countries where people struggle with finances, if they had to pick between educating the girl child or educating the male child will be prioritized over the girl. And it's just a sad idea and thought that we're raised to believe that the value of men is much higher than the value of women. And this is not in isolation to poor countries or poverty, which is why gender-based discussions and gender issues are so important, because they literally affect everybody in every single sphere all over the world at every level. Because even if you're in corporate and you're a woman who's in a high position, even there you're looked down upon. Who did you sleep with to get the position? You don't deserve it. You got it because of BEE in this country being equivalent to methods that the government is trying to implement to even the scales out so women get as many opportunities as men. You're just never seen as being capable, and your achievements are never because you're good enough. Your achievements are because somebody gave you a pass because you're a woman. And that's really sad, because that makes women feel like they're less, and even women who are in positions of power still don't feel like they deserve those positions because of how society teaches us that we're just not as important as the man. And I think part of the problem is also the idea that the value of a child that is a girl, or the value of a girl child, is found in her capacity to bear children and get married, where it's something that's subtle, but even I get asked very often where my significant other is, when I'm going to start having children, now that I have my degree, when am I going to start making a family, when am I going to settle down, because I've never really reached my utmost Super Saiyan capacity, I suppose you could say, until I have had a ring put on my finger, I'm married, and I'm a homemaker, basically. And I think that's very sad, because that's not necessarily the path that every single woman wants to take, and some people just don't really have an interest in men at all. So the value of a woman is still very much attached to her ability to be made valuable by the presence of a man. And that's something that we really need to shy away from, something that we really need to start teaching our girls from a very young age, that you are more than good enough. You are more than enough. As a lone individual standing apart, you are enough. You don't need any colorings, trinkets, rings from a man to prove to you that you have value and worth. And not understanding that you have value and worth as an independent person, as a woman, that also perpetuates things like teenage pregnancy. It perpetuates things like prostitution, because women then feel that their value is less and that they have to chase men and they have to chase their value in men, which perpetuates these issues. And not understanding that these things are important things to break from a young age is, I think, somewhere where we're missing the buck, especially in our education. We have life orientation here in South Africa, but I don't necessarily think it adequately addresses those issues and adequately educates and equips our girls to know what their value is and to have real self-worth, so that they know that within themselves they have everything that they could ever need and they don't need anything more to make them better, especially nothing more from a man. That's why fast-tracking women in positions of power, BEE, equating the scales, tipping the scales so they favor the woman, is really, really important, because addressing the inequality is something that we need to focus on, because gender inequality is something that's been ignored for a very long time. People talk about it, people will make noise about it, they'll put one woman in a position of power to silence people and to keep it moving, but that's not really the solution that we're looking for. We really need to work towards making sustainable solutions, and I really think these sustainable solutions would start at school ground level and trickle its way up. Because if you're made or taught to be, using myself as an example, a strong person. I was always an achiever growing up. I always knew that I could achieve. I never ever thought that there was anything different between me and a male counterpart, and I always had very strong belief and confidence in my capabilities. And this is just because when my parents were raising me, over and above the dishes story, they did instill in me the knowledge that I was more than capable. So I have always pushed towards my goals and worked in a manner where I thought and I knew that I was always more than capable, and my self-worth is not found in anything else but how I work for myself and what I put into myself and how I try to position myself. So if we try to teach our girls confidence at ground level, then they'll grow up with that confidence, and it'll be also easier for them to withstand the pressures in the workplace and society, in social and romantic relationships, because if you don't really understand who you are, where you are, and what you're worth, then it's very difficult for you to pick you and make the best choices for you. So it's really important for gender equality issues to be made a priority in our countries, and for real actionable solutions to be put in place to make changes in the gender spheres in our society, because until we make real tangible moves, we really will stay in the same place in the next 10 years. We'll still be discussing the same issues, we'll still be having the same problems, women will still be the lesser sex. It's also really funny to me how women are probably about 52% of the world's population, so there are more women in the world than there are men, but men are the dominant sex. It's really strange to me that the majority in reality and in the way of the world is seen and treated as the minority. And I'm not saying that women should overtake the whole world, but there should be a lot more shared spaces and a lot more shared power. I have been privileged to ask Ms Melinda Gates some questions, and I have some video footage of her answering the questions that I asked for you guys, so you guys can hear straight from the horse's mouth what she thinks about gender inequality. I guess specifically directed at South Africa and the current state of Africa in general, and how we can apply these gender equality balancing principles in Africa, because first world and third world or developing world are really not the same. So I thought it was really important to highlight the differences and see how we can make those different solutions work for us.
My definition of gender equality is when everyone is equal, no matter where they come from or where they live. I've tried to really bring forward the issues of gender equality of our time, and that is talk about both the barriers that hold women back, but the opportunities to really change the world for all women everywhere. I know in places all over the world, whether it's South Africa or whether it's Tanzania or whether it's India or whether it's the United States, that no matter what your level of resources and income, we can absolutely achieve gender equality. We need to look at the biases we all have, and then we all need to use our voices and make investments or advocate to our government to make investments to create change in the world for everyone. The solution to gender equality will be different in different places, depending on how far the country is along in terms of addressing their barriers or offering opportunities. For instance, some countries have quite a few members of parliament who are female. Other countries have very few in their government who are female. That is one barrier that needs to be addressed, but how you address it will potentially be different in different countries. Our foundation is looking at all of our work across the board to see where we should be making investments in girls and women, and looking at the continuum of a girl's life from the day she's born all the way through adulthood to say, how do we intervene to make sure that she can lift up herself and her family if she chooses to have one. So not only does she survive, but she and the people around her thrive. Because when you do that, the entire community gets better, and quite frankly, the entire country gets better.
So I'm really excited. This has been such a pleasure to film. I really am so happy to be afforded the opportunity to be in a space where I can use my platform to empower, I can use my platform to inform, I can use my platform to educate, because even if we can't make big actionable changes, having conversations and discussions is really, really important, because you empower people with knowledge. And knowledge is one of the biggest, greatest tools that you can give anyone to use, because it's freeing, because you can make better decisions for your life, and that could be so impactful on how your future turns out. So if you have any comments, any questions, please do engage in the comments down below. Do impart some information, do impart some knowledge, give a positive comment down below. Share maybe a story, a gender inequality story of yours. Maybe you'll get some encouragement, maybe you'll get some advice, maybe somebody will learn from your story. So do engage in the comments down below. But thank you so much all for watching my video, for supporting my content, and I'm even more grateful and thankful to Bill and Melinda Gates for giving me this opportunity to be a part of their annual Letter Influencers run, and giving me the opportunity to speak on something that I'm very, very passionate about. So until my next video, which will hopefully be very soon, because you guys know how work is, I love you all so much. Stay well, stay blessed, and peace, love, and happiness to all of you.